You mentioned how your party has won Democratic election after Democratic election, yet globalists and liberals love to attack the Orban government for being anti-democratic, autocratic. What's your response to that?
You know, it's the voice of the frustrated persons and organizations who always want to fire our government, and then after all elections they have to understand that, well, it's still the Hungarian people who make the decision and not the international media. This is the same level of frustration which was shown to President Trump. You know, after President Trump was elected here in the United States, there was a big hysteria in the European Union. But our position was very clear. Everybody has to understand that it is the American people to vote for the American president and not the liberal media, not CNN, and not the NGOs. It's the same in Hungary. It's not the NGOs, not the mainstream media, not the European political elite, not the European Commission to make a decision who can govern Hungary. It's only the Hungarian people. And you know, we governed 8 years, from 2010 to 2018, 8 years. So there's no secret. Hungarians know everything about us. Hungarians know our track record, they know our plans. They know the track record of the opposition, they know their plans. They went to the balloting stations, you know, and we won an overwhelming majority. And that should be respected. So, you know, the approach which always try to question the decision of the Hungarian people is very anti-democratic. Because not respecting a very clear decision of a society, that's anti-democratic. You know, and we are fed up with the approach as well, which try to portray the NGOs as representatives of civic society. That's not true. We are representatives of the civic society because there were no NGOs running for public support on the elections. It's us, the politicians, members of parliament and members of governments, who run on elections, make our plans transparent, and ask for the public support. And then people go to the balloting stations and they vote on politicians. So it's not the NGOs to represent the society, that's a lie. It's the politicians who represent the civic society.
I want to get your thoughts on Western media and their treatment of Orban.
Very unfair, very unbalanced. You know, I served 6 years as a spokesman, 4 years in opposition and 2 years in government. And I have the experience that, that facts do not really bother any of those who write these articles about Hungary. You know, I can go through point by point and show how they lie about my country and how they lie about the Hungarian Prime Minister. You know, characterizing Prime Minister Orban as non-democratic is just unacceptable. He is the only political leader in Europe who ran all democratic elections since the transition. From 1990 onwards, he ran all 8 elections in Hungary as a leader of his political family, all 8. He won 4 times, and then he lost 4 times as well. I hope we will have a better track record in the future, but now it's 4-4. But after all losses he stayed in politics. He stayed as a leader of his political family. He stayed as accountable. He stayed there, you know, instead of leaving for a seat in a supervisory board of a big Russian energy company, for example, like it is the case in some European politicians. You know, you cannot name any other European politician with such a track record. And after then, characterizing him as non-democratic is just, you know, unacceptable.
With your new government, do you intend to change the Constitution? And if so, what changes do you anticipate?
Well, we have a plan to make some changes in the Constitution. There's a commission which has the task to make an overview. Because we have implemented our Constitution, you know, 7 years ago, and things have been changing so quickly in the world that it's obvious that you need to address these new kinds of challenges. And yes, after such turbulent times, it might be necessary to adjust your constitution as well. So now there's a small commission, task force, which has to explore or examine or investigate what kind of changes we need to make, and then they will propose the changes.
How does Hungary view President Trump's foreign policy, his geopolitical moves, in comparison to President Barack Obama?
You know, since we are not American citizens, it would be inappropriate to interfere into your domestic issues. But what we can say is the following. We respect the decision of the American people. We respect the endeavors of your president. We respect his endeavors towards putting America first. And saying America first was a huge deliberation for patriotic forces in Europe. Because before President Trump had been elected, saying that like Hungary first, you know, it was immediately stigmatized as nationalist, even fascist, whatever, you know. Now, those who put critics on us because of that are a little bit more careful. You know, so saying Hungary first, your nation first, is such a refreshing feeling, you know. So we like him saying America first, and you know, we rather laugh on the critics in Europe that when they say, oh, it's too bad, because then we pose two questions. Who should say America first, if not the American president? And what should the American president say, what first, if not America? So, you know, for us it's obvious. We definitely understand his patriotic economic policy, because we run an patriotic economic policy as well. We like the change in approach, that he does not want to lecture all other countries in the world, you know. And he understood that the American methodology must not, by definition, work in countries with totally different history, different approach, different understanding, you know. And of course, we understand very well his policy on migration. We like his policy on protecting the Judeo-Christian heritage, protecting the Christian minorities all around the world. So all in all, we are happy to work together with this US administration. We are happy that those open attempts to interfere in our domestic issues, which happened during the Democrat administration, are not the case anymore.